right. Welcome everybody to our public meeting for Thursday, November 9th. Would you please join me in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Missoula County acknowledges that this event takes place in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish and Kalispel people. We have 3 public announcements. Do we have any other public announcements that anyone would like to make?
Matt has an announcement that he needs to make. Matt, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Matt Heimel with Planning Development and Sustainability. We had published public notice of a public hearing today for floodplain regulation updates. However, we're still working on that with FEMA and DNRC, so the hearing is canceled. I just wanted to make this announcement in case anyone was here for that meeting. We will have public notice posted and the hearing rescheduled once we're ready to move with that, and Missoula County Voice will also be updated.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Cheryl, do you want to talk about
Yep.
closed captioning?
Here we go. Hello, everyone. If you're joining us for this meeting virtually today, instructions for turning on closed captioning are on your screen.
Great. There we go. Okay.
Here we go.
We have a couple proclamations.
Oh, there it is.
Tag teams. Green light is first.
Okay, whereas the residents of Missoula County have respect, admiration, gratitude for all citizens who have served in the armed forces and the contributions and sacrifices veterans have made in service to their country and communities are significant and commendable. And Montana is home to approximately 85,000 veterans, about 8,000 of which live within Missoula County. And Missoula County seeks to honor the veterans who have placed themselves in harm's way in service to their country. And veterans continue to serve our community in the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, religious groups, civil service, and other community organizations, and approximately 200,000 service members transition to civilian communities annually. And there will be a 20% increase in the number of service members transitioning to civilian life in the near future. And studies indicate that 44 to 72% of service members experience high levels of stress during transition from military to civilian life. And active military service members transitioning from the military service are at high risk for suicide during their first year after military service. And the National Association of Counties encourages all counties, parishes, and boroughs to recognize Operation Greenlight for veterans. And Missoula County appreciates the sacrifices of our United States military personnel and wishes to grant them specific recognition. Now, therefore, we, the Missoula Board of County Commissioners in the state of Montana, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2023 as a time to honor the service and sacrifice of our citizens in uniform transitioning from active service. Be it further resolved that in observance of Operation Greenlight, Missoula County encourages its residents to honor all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom by displaying a green light in a window of their home or business. Dated this day, so this 9th day of November 2023.
Thanks.
All right, we have a second proclamation, which we actually premiered on Monday in what was the Missoula Federal Building, but is now the John Engen Local Government Building. Whereas John Engen served the city of Missoula as its 50th mayor from January 2006 until August 2022 with unwavering dedication. And whereas Mayor Engen lived in Missoula his entire life and loved Missoula and its people and dogs with his entire spirit and being, and whereas Mayor Engen led Missoula through a years-long effort to gain ownership of its water system and collaborated with Missoula County leaders to shepherd Missoula through the COVID-19 pandemic, and many of his projects and initiatives will continue to shape Missoula for better for decades to come. And whereas Mayor Engen believed deeply that all Missoula residents should have opportunities to thrive by making happy and safe lives for themselves and their families, doing meaningful work and following their dreams. And whereas Mayor Engen understood that a thriving downtown benefits the entire community, and whereas easy to access city and county services were a cornerstone of Mayor Engen's public service ethic, and whereas Mayor Engen believed that a strong and collaborative relationship between the leaders of Missoula County and the city of Missoula is of great public benefit, and whereas Mayor Engen and the Board of County Commissioners saw the value, utility, and beauty of revitalizing the historic federal building and worked for a decade to save and repurpose it for public use, and whereas Mayor Engen was grateful for the equally persistent efforts of his friend and colleague, Senator John Tester, in the transfer of the building to local Missoula governments, now, therefore, be it resolved, we, Missoula Mayor Jordan Hess and Missoula County Commissioners Josh Slotnick, Juanita Vero, and Dave Strohmeyer, hereby proclaim that the name of the Missoula Federal Building shall be from this day forward the John Engen Local Government Building, dated this 6th day of November, 2023.
Thanks, both of you guys. Those are great. Okay, do we have any public comment on any item not on the agenda? All right, our current claims list, claims received as of October 24th, 2023 to October 30th, 2023 by the Commissioner's Office. Total $1,832,518.95. We have 4 hearings today. We're going to juggle the pre-published agenda a little bit, and we're going to do the ordinance related to Y2 Targeted Economic Development District Plan first. That will be followed by the Seeley Lake Refuse District. Emily.
Thank you. We are here today because the Missoula Development Authority recommended that the Board of County Commissioners establish another targeted economic development district at the Y to foster growth, location, and retention of secondary value-added economic development projects. The TED designation enables local governments to address infrastructure deficiencies that are impeding industrial growth. The creation of the Y2 TED will enable Missoula County to fund infrastructure such as sewer, water, transportation, life safety services, and workforce housing to support value-added enterprises that will improve the economic well-being of Missoula. So in accordance with state law, the first step was to conduct a review of infrastructure deficiency, which we did, and the commission adopted on August 24th. The next step was to develop and submit a comprehensive development plan, which is a high-level document that discusses the types of infrastructure projects that are eligible for tax increment financing and sets forth a series of goals and strategies that Missoula County can undertake to address these deficiencies. On October 17th, the Missoula Consolidated Planning Board reviewed the plan and unanimously affirmed conformance, including area zoning, with the growth policy. This hearing was open on October 26th, which included the first reading. And the step today is to hold a second reading, close the hearing, and adopt the ordinance and comprehensive development plan. And so very, very briefly, I am going to provide you guys with a little presentation on some of the public comment we got since the hearing opened or before the hearing opened. There's only about 3 slides, so it'll be very quick. For public engagement, we went through the Declaration of Infrastructure Deficiency. We met with taxing jurisdictions 4 times. We had a meeting with large landowners and developers on September 12th. We did send a letter to all the taxing jurisdictions, property owners, and interested parties on September 29th. We went to the West Valley Community Council on October 12th. We did put notice in the Missoulian 4 times, and there is an engagement page on Missoula County Voice. Most people agree that the Y is the best place for growth, that the area needs better infrastructure, and that the TED is a good tool to use to encourage and manage growth. Other specific comments we got were focus inward, growth is more desirable within city limits. The area shouldn't grow because it's not urban. It should remain rural. Revenue should remain with the taxing jurisdictions. Please ensure that schools aren't caught off guard by growth. Please acknowledge native land and history. Please preserve riparian habitats. Please ensure safe routes to schools. Please address stormwater. Some of the area is not infrastructure deficient. Can TED funding be used for maintenance of existing roads? We answered that question. And how will TED impact property owners within the district? We answered that question. And of course, there was lots of impact on input on the Y infrastructure plan, which is being conducted by the planning department. Happy to answer any, we did address all of these comments directly with the people that we engage with. Happy to go into them if you have questions. But we definitely spent a lot of time with folks, and overall, people are pretty interested in seeing this, seeing us implement our growth policy at the Y. So this is the area, as a reminder, the blue. And the motion today is to close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance creating the Y2 Targeted Economic Development District and adopt a comprehensive plan with tax increment financing provision for the Y2 Targeted Economic Development District. That's all I got. Short and sweet.
Thanks. So we have any public comment, you're welcome to come on up and just come on up and say your name and ask away. You gotta push make the green light go on.
Okay, hi, I'm Stacy. Where were all those questions addressed? Were they addressed at the other meetings that were had? Because this is the first one we were able to attend.
Yes, they were addressed at all the other meetings and mostly at the West Valley Community Council and on the Missoula County Voice engagement site.
But if you have any specific question, feel free to ask.
Well, do you have anything? No.
And if you wouldn't mind, Stacy, you wouldn't mind saying your last name too?
Oh, Stacy Hurlbrink.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah,
Welcome.
sorry, I live out in the Y. I guess, what are the specific developments that you want to do? What are the taxes going to be? Do you want to make everything urban and take away our rural area?
So we're implementing the growth policy for the Y, depending on where you live in the Y. The plan in the growth policy is for the Y to be an area of significant dense development. Yes.
Maybe it might be helpful with a visual.
Map?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't see
Josh,
that map.
can I jump in?
Absolutely, please do.
So one thing I think to keep in mind, and maybe Emily will hit on this, nothing that we're contemplating or discussing here today changes plans relative to density that are on the books right now. So we went through a planning process a number of years ago to basically set the vision and policy for growth in this area. So that can happen right now. And this area has been zoned. So there's zoning that determines what level of density, what type of growth can occur. This is something a little different, and maybe Emily, you can sharpen the point on what this does.
So this is a tool to implement that vision that Commissioner Strohmeyer was just talking about for density in that area. And what it does is it makes sure that all of the new taxes that come in from growth in that area stay in that area. So they're funneled back into the Y for infrastructure.
Okay.
So it doesn't impact your taxes. It only impacts the fact that they go back into your area.
All right. And then I know where we live is considered Ag 3. So are you like the agriculture will say ag area and with the little farming part and it will grow around it, or sorry, I didn't see the map very well. I guess that's what I'm saying.
I can't answer that because I don't know which part of where exactly you live. This does not change zoning.
Okay.
So this does not change zoning.
Oh,
If zoning changes, it will not be part of this process.
Okay.
So
Great.
no, the zoning is not changing
Okay.
as part of this.
Okay.
The maps, and this is laid out a lot better on Missoula County Voice, right? The
Yeah.
full
That
document.
a
You-
website for you.
Yeah, sorry, MissoulaCountyVoice.com.
Okay.
And then you can just click on this and then there's like a whole package that will, good maps, good links to, and answers to the questions that we ran through super fast.
Okay.
And then,
Sorry, this is the first
I'm going to
time.
just reiterate what these guys said. They both said it really well. I just want to kind of tie it up in a bow a little bit. The planning for this area was done a long time ago.
Mhm.
Some of it a couple years ago, some of it a few years before that.
Okay.
What we're doing today is creating a tool so we can reinvest the taxes from the area right back into the area specifically to build infrastructure. So things like sewer, water, and road grid. That's going to happen more quickly because of this tool. But as Dave said, the plan was made a long time ago that this area was going to be built out to pretty high density. And what we're talking about now could take 20 to 40 years to happen.
Okay.
So you guys could have a beautiful little oasis out there. It'll probably be that way for quite a while.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Please.
And so, just to further what Josh said a little bit. So, and I think Emily said it also, if your property currently is zoned agriculture, or I don't know what your zoning classification is, I'm sorry, what was that? Ag 3, it stays the same.
Not changing.
This doesn't change that one bit, so.
The zoning's already done.
Okay.
This is the creation of an economic tool to hasten the construction of infrastructure.
That's gonna happen. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And feel free to reach out if you have questions after you look at that.
Hi, I am her significant other. We live together, resident of the Y. My name is Timothy Schmeckel. I'm also a small business owner. I own a gym, not quite in the Y area, but very close to that area. So it's near the airport, near DeSmet Elementary School. So what I'm hearing is a little bit vague. So I'm just like curious about when we say economic development, what are we talking about? Are we talking about Amazon warehouses? Are we talking about apartment buildings? Are we, it's not very specific. Is there anything you can go into as far as specifics on what is going to be occurring and how far they're pushing in? Because we also have the possibilities of, like, depending on the level of what you specifically use the word industrial, as far as industrial developments, how much are we worried about like industrial pollutants, being as a lot of people in that area are on well and also have septic. So is this something in the future where people are going to have to be converting to a city sewer water system, where we're going to have to be tied into like a city sewer concept, or we're going to have to be tied into like city water and no longer able to use our wells, et cetera, et cetera? Like, how much do we need to be concerned about environmental pollutants, and how much do we need to worry about, apartment buildings or residential things going up versus, another concrete manufacturing plant, or et cetera?
Right. Those are
specifics you can go into.
Those are great questions. I'm going to try a few, and then Emily's the expert on this a little bit. But the piece I wanted to mention when you said sewer or septic, right now we're doing an infrastructure.
Why infrastructure plan?
Why infrastructure plan? So we're looking first at what are the deficiencies out there. Deficiencies meaning where could there be a road where there isn't? Where is there septic where there could be sewer? What would it take infrastructure wise to have more industry where industry is zoned for, more housing where housing is appropriately zoned for? What would the infrastructure be to facilitate that? So we're not even done with that yet. So when we'll do that, we'll learn what needs to be done. Then we got to figure out how to make it happen. So it'll be a little while. It is a bit vague right now. I'm going to imagine at some point, any new construction out there is going to be on sewer. Don't think it's going to be part of the city. Not totally sure yet. We'll learn when we finish this infrastructure plan as to, is it going to be warehouses or industrial or residential? All that's according to zoning. And we could get you a map with the zoning on it, so you could see which areas are zoned for which, and that's where those activities will be concentrated within those specific spaces. That helps.
So right now, the comprehensive development plan is really high level, and it includes anything and everything that is infrastructure related as kind of a catch-all, because we're just starting the process. As we go further down the process, we'll start to identify preferred alternatives. But yes, I think it is fair to say that in the future, not tomorrow, probably not even in 5 years, but the Y we'll have a public water system and a public sewer system. Probably maybe not city sewer. That is one of our goals.
Okay, and is that at that point, it seems like if this is approved, it just kind of like, excuse me, if this is approved, it just kind of like, this is the last chance for any kind of public inquiry or public dissent to anything going on in there, and it just, there's a couple meetings at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and people are at work. There's not very, I don't know if that's by design or not, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people ever attend these kind of things because everybody's at work, people got children to take care of. This is not something that people have time to engage in, and by the time that they find out about it, it's because they're building an Amazon across the street. It's like, so how much going forward will there be any chance for the public to have any voice or any say in what's going to be going on in these future developments?
Absolutely. The Y infrastructure planning process, there'll be community engagement with that, which is where we actually select preferred alternatives for infrastructure in the area. And on that website that we just handed to your partner, that is where you can learn more about that. This is absolutely not the last time.
Not even.
This
not even
is
close.
the beginning.
Okay.
So, and what we're talking about now is infrastructure, roads, sewer, water. Let's say somebody wants to build a store or they're going to do a subdivision. There's going to be a whole set of hearings just on that one single subdivision with
Right.
plenty of opportunity to speak about that subdivision. If somebody like Amazon buys one little piece of land and they want to build something on it, they go through a building permit process, but unless they're doing a subdivision, they're not going to,
Right.
there's not a process for that.
Because as I've looked now, being that the area we're in, which is just past, let's see, it would be west of Deschamps Road near Moccasin Road.
Mhm.
And it's, like, as we said, zoned to Ag 3, which the parcels are 5 acres and they're not allowed at this point with the
Yep.
zoning being as it is Ag 3, they're not allowed to make it smaller than 5 acres. So is that something that, again,
not
like
up
you
for
said, that would
change.
have to be,
Yeah, we're not messing with zoning. That zoning is as is.
okay.
Yeah, that zoning is as is for now, but zoning can change and it would go through a different process that you would be able to weigh in on.
Okay.
We just,
And if that happens, there will be a notice literally on the street in front of your house.
and
like
we-
in your
and we just
neighborhood.
redid our zoning code, so there are no plans to redo
Yeah.
that
That
zoning.
hadn't been
Absolutely.
updated for
That's not
50
true.
years. So it's zoning solid.
Some of this not in there.
Yeah, so there are some ag lands that are spots that are holding the land so that when it does develop, it is developed densely. I don't know which ones they are or if that is where you are. There are some ag lands at the Y that are planned to be rezoned at some future date, 10 or 15 years down the road.
Right. Okay.
But
Well,
that's a separate process.
Separate
It'll be a
process. I
public
just want to be
process,
clear
so.
that zoning changes. That's not what we're doing today.
So if we're more focused on, I mean, being that there is a lot of dirt roads and things like that, and recently we had no understanding why, but Deschamps Road was already paved, like very smooth black asphalt with lines, and then they tarred and gravelled it for some reason, which is beyond my understanding, with no pit lines painted on it. I don't know if that's just to finish out money in the budget for the year, but it seemed like an unnecessary concept or an unnecessary project. But some of the other roads, the dirt roads, we're talking about like paving or sidewalks and things like that. That's not really the issue, I don't think, with most of the residents there. If I can, not that I can speak for everybody in the area, but I don't think people have a lot of problem with that. There are a lot of, every time winter comes around, we refer to it as pothole season because
Yeah.
the expansion of the ice and everything starts putting potholes in the dense mud. So that's not really an issue. I think more of what people are concerned with is like losing their ability to, see the mountains or things like that.
Sure.
The river being right there, the ability to be independent on their own well and having to be forced into some sort of like city annexation of county lands. Like, is that something that's like, as far as like,
There's no plan for city annexation. That hasn't been part of any discussion at all.
Yeah, and actually you can't annex an area when there's a TIF district. So it would be probably at least 25 years until this area could be annexed legally.
And even then, there's criteria where the city cannot just come out and grab you and force annexation. If you're wholly surrounded, or if you ask to be on, if you as a property owner want to be on city sewer, and as a condition of doing that, you have to be annexed. That's something different, but I don't think you need to worry about the city just kind of long arm of the city of Missoula reaching out and annexing you against your will.
And we have somebody online who I know who needs to speak for 2:30.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for
Thank you
coming
very much.
today.
Thank you.
Grant, is that you out there?
It is. Can you see and hear me okay?
Yes. Grant, there's a red light. Stop.
No, I do
Oh.
have a very happy young boy in front of my car in his yard screaming. So if there's
That was
background
just a
noise,
joke.
please know, don't be alarmed. I'm parked.
I know.
This is Grant here, President and CEO of the Missoula Economic Partnership. Thanks, and I apologize. I have another meeting here I need to go into, so I appreciate a chance to talk. I just want to express on behalf of the Missoula Economic Partnership our support for this next phase of the process and to move forward today. This is, I think, the city and county, and especially the county, have taken a lot of pride in recent years for making plans and executing them. I know a lot of investment, time, and effort and public input went into the growth policy and the zoning process to identify places where we can accommodate building houses that people can afford to live in Missoula County, which is getting harder and harder to do. And we know firsthand that a lot of our businesses in town and in the area are struggling to find places where they can continue to grow and continue to do business in our community. We engaged in our own planning process in 2022 to complete a comprehensive economic development strategy for the county. And in that, a lot of support was expressed for the outcomes that were envisioned in the zoning and planning process for the Y. We believe that the TED designation is a powerful tool for enabling the implementation of those plans, and we strongly encourage you to continue to move forward. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Grant. Jason.
Hey, thanks. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I want to echo what Grant had to say. I represent ASJ Ventures. We do have 100 acres in the inside this Y2 TED, and we've been working on developing and trying to develop land so we can build more houses in the area, and expansion of the infrastructure, water, anything we can do with the with public assistance would greatly help out us as business owners, entrepreneurs, developers, and I know as a real estate agent as well, we have a high demand for folks looking for this type of housing we're trying to provide. With the escalated costs that have come along with the infrastructure prices, anything that we can do together to help alleviate some of that, I think is a big benefit to the area and the community as a whole. So I appreciate you guys getting this far, and we fully support it.
Thank you. Cheryl, are there other folks? Bonnie.
Hi there. My name is Bonnie Buckingham. I'm the director of the Community Food and Agriculture Coalition, and I am joining today in support of the Y2 TED proposal. The Community Food and Ag Coalition has been working on behalf of the protection of agricultural lands across the Missoula Valley for many, many years. And during that time, we have consistently seen the growth of homes and developments rather quickly replacing what had previously been vibrant farmland. And agriculture is an important part of our history and our current economy and culture here in the Missoula Valley. And in all of our planning and growth plans, the need to enhance and support agriculture is a clearly stated value, and it is reflected in the newly adopted zoning codes, as well as the growth policy that was adopted back in 2016. And also Montana's state constitution requires that we protect, enhance, and develop agriculture. But we also know that there's quite an urgent need for housing for our growing population, most specifically workforce and affordable housing. And by creating the Y2 TED, I feel we can support both of these needs in our community. By focusing more housing infrastructure in an area already slated for greater development and with soils not as productive for agriculture in that area, we can provide both housing and the protection of critical agricultural soils in areas where they each are the most suitable. The Community Food and Agriculture Coalition urges the county to continue to seek ways to protect and conserve our most precious and vital agricultural soils, and we really can't replace what is paved over for development. So focusing housing away from those areas containing our best soils is one way of mitigating that loss. So we support the Y2TED and urge your support as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Bonnie. Are there other online hands up?
Were there any comments that came in? There was one letter, you posted it, right?
Do you guys have any questions or anything else? Okay.
All right, happy to make a motion here. And I don't know if it's showing my age, but every time I say Y2TED, I want to say Y2K. So
it's really hard. People were born then.
the apocalypse did not come at that point in time. So
Just missed it by
by here. So I move that we adopt an ordinance creating the Y2 Targeted Economic Development District and adopt a comprehensive development plan with a tax increment financing provision for the Y2 Targeted Economic Development District.
Second.
All right, do we have any public comment on this that we have not yet heard? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great work, Emily and Flana. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
commenting.
coming down. And if you guys need any info, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll call you, send you an email, whatever you like. Yeah.
You bet.
I was just gonna say, I'll give you my email and you can reach out and I can walk you through some of it if you want.
Okay, Sam.
Sam Scott with the Clerk and Recorder's Office. John, I don't actually know, do you want to start with the spiel or you want me to? Okay. So our office received a request to annex some property located in Missoula County into the Sealy Lake Refuse District. The petition has been signed by all property owners. It's described as Lot 13 of Riverwatch Phase 2, located at 1960 Riverwatch Trail in Sealy. We've kind of, as John will discuss, there's not quite a great process outlined in statute for annexations into a refuse district like this. We've followed a modified fire annexation petition process. There is no board to approve this petition like there is for a fire district. So there's the three of you. But both property owners have signed the petition. Kim Meyer with Public Works has worked with them to make sure that this is all good with Public Works. So they've been noticed. And it's presented to you for your decision.
Thanks, Sam. You guys have any?
I didn't know. On saying anything?
Yeah.
The rare request to be annexed into this district, we've gotten some requests to be pulled out of the district, but
To a garbage burning district.
So the Sealy Lake Refuge District is one of the unique boards that we have in Missoula County, along with the Lolo Mosquito District Board, the Sealy Lake Cemetery Board, and the Florence Carlton Cemetery Board. What makes them unique is that they all existed prior to July 1st of 2009. They were all created. The Refuge District, for instance, was created by the Board of County Commissioners in 1974. It's been around for a long time. The Florence Carlton Cemetery District, even longer than that.
Yeah.
Right, not a refuge district.
These are old districts. But then what the legislature did in 2009 was, and I think I wasn't paying attention in 2009, but I think the goal was to take a bunch of disparate statutes. I mean, There was a set of statutes about creating a cemetery district and a mosquito district and a television district and a refuge district. And they each had their own little statutory scheme, and each one was a little different than the other one. And what the legislature, I think rightly, was trying to do in 2009 is say, you know, we need to have one set of statutes that governs how you create these districts, how you empower them, how you operate them, how you dissolve them, how you change them, and all that. And that's what the legislature did in 2009. And so if you wanted to create the West Valley Refuge District, for instance, or the Potomac Refuge District today, you would follow this set of statutes that the legislature passed in 2009. Part of that statutory change was what we call a savings clause. And it said that if you are one of these districts that are in existence and effective today on July 1st, 2009, you will continue to operate under your standalone disparate set of statutes if and until one of two things happens. You either change the method of assessing people within that district for the cost of running the district, or secondly, you change the district boundaries. But if you don't do one of those two things, you operate under the old set of statutes.
It's 1974 forever.
It's 1974 forever. However, they also, as part of passing this legislation in 2009, they repealed each one of these old sets of statutes because they figured we don't want anybody to use these going forward because you'll use our new special district statute. So they repealed these other sets of statutes, including the refuge district statutes. So if you open up the code and you go to Title 7, Chapter 13, Part 2, it will say, refuge districts, solid waste management districts, and everything is repealed.
So how can they operate under statutes that no longer exist anywhere in MCA?
That I don't have an answer.
No.
For. I don't have an answer for you. But here's I got to finish the story.
Oh, sorry.
So this is the case. I mean, I think the thinking was, well, you know, they're going to either change their way of assessing, or they're going to tweak the boundaries of the district over time. One of those two things is going to happen, such that there'll come a day when these legacy districts never have to follow the statutes again. And so it's okay that we're repealing them. You could still go back and find them if you need them, whatever. Then in 2019, the legislature changed its mind. So 10 years later, they came back and they said, we have a different idea. Legacy districts that were in effect on July 1st of 2009 will follow those old statutes forever. Okay?
1974 forever. Did they unrepeal the repealed?
No. So the Seeley Lake Refuge District is operating under a set of statutes that have been repealed since 2009, and they will follow those forever. I mean, unless the legislature changes its mind.
Or they expand or change their assessment.
No, those things are that
got tossed.
That got tossed in 2019 too. So yes, today would otherwise have been the opportunity to say, oh, the Seeley Lake Refuge District is now going to operate under these new statutes.
Expanded the boundaries.
And we would have looked at the new statutes and it would have told us how to annex this property in, because the new statute is far clearer. It's more comprehensive. But we have to go back to the old set of statutes, which is very vague, and it says that the Board of County Commissioners can change the boundaries of the refuge districts if they find that it's in the best interest of the public. And there's still a notice and protest period, but think about it. we're dealing with one property that wants to come into the district, that would be the only property that could protest that, or at least have a, a valid protest. Somebody, I don't know why one of their neighbors would say, no, don't let them into the refuge district. We don't want that to happen. So I mean, it's just kind of, it's very much like the fire did. And that's why in talking with Kim Meyer and talking with Sam Scott, we thought, well, let's just follow a process that's similar to letting people into rural fire districts. And they'll petition in. We'll follow that same process. We'll have a public hearing, and you guys will determine is this in the best interest of the citizens in Missoula County. Sorry about that.
No, that's
I'm gonna keep. You guys are gonna hear me
fascinating.
tell this story again in the future because it's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, that's a nail biter. So had this property owner not come before us to petition into the district, I've never dropped off any refuse at this district before. So is there someone there checking to see if you're part of the district? So
There's staff there.
and it's closed at those hours of the day that it's not staffed.
Yeah.
So the advantage of being in the district is you can bring your trash there and drop it off. Otherwise,
You can't.
you'd have to pay or
you
you
can, you can drop it off, but you got to pay.
Okay.
I think I forgot to tell Kim Meyer about the hearing today because I was curious. I think she has a sense that this will not be the last property that we see in the near future wanting to petition into the refuge district. And I can't explain why it's a good deal right now to.
Why do their neighbors have to?
Sam has some insight.
Not much. I was just going to say, when we talked with Kim, she had thought about the fact that this would be on their assessment for next year, and she was working out how in the meantime they could utilize the refuse district, even though they wouldn't technically have been assessed for it until next fall at this point. And so not as of January 1st would they have been paying into the district. So she was working out the specifics there.
Why does a neighbor have to allow or approve of another neighbor being in the district? I don't understand.
I don't think they have to. I mean, a neighbor could cut. Today's the day to protest this annexation.
Because we're expanding the district.
Exactly. But I don't think, Commissioner Vero, I don't think anybody, well, I do not anticipate ever having a neighbor come and protest somebody. I mean, I don't anticipate ever having a property that's within the district coming to this meeting and saying, don't let that property into the refuge district.
I mean, could you imagine? I would just make something up. There's going to be a factory of some type. It's just one thing, but they're going to make a tremendous amount of garbage and they want to be in the district. Maybe Kim would say, oh, we can't accommodate you. You're producing too much garbage. Or other neighbors would be fearful that if they let this new factory in, they wouldn't have space for their garbage, or rates would go up because they'd have to buy 6 more dumpsters or something.
Maybe you mentioned, but who can put forward a valid protest? Anyone in the district?
Well, I thought about that 30 seconds ago. I don't think anybody can.
Nobody can.
I don't think anybody but the property that is petitioning to be annexed in could make a valid protest. But of course, this is a public hearing, so anybody can come to the public hearing.
That would be bizarre to both petition and protest at the same time.
That I can guarantee is never going to happen.
Yeah.
That
Sam,
will
do you have
never
anything
happen.
to add?
No.
Waiting patiently.
Well, it's a new process, but it won't be the last one.
Yeah.
And there might be a twist in the future to one of the.
It's often a plot twist.
See.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd add is like a fire petition, the Board of Trustees and the fire district has evaluated the property to make sure that they can serve it appropriately. So Kim is essentially doing the equivalent of that as through her process as she handles the petition and works with the landowner. So.
Okay, thanks for the history lesson.
Thank you. That actually was really interesting.
I I move to request that the board approve to annex property into the Sea Lake Refuse District as presented.
Second, I wonder if there's anyone out there who might want to comment.
Any public comment on this? Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye. Thanks, John.
Oh, that was
Thanks, Sam.
exciting.
Thanks, Sam.
Zach, you have two subdivisions for us.
That is correct. So first I'll be starting with the Porch Tower minor subdivision. As I'm on camera. Trying to get this.
Well, we knew what you meant, though.
Close to the Blackfoot Clearwater Game Range. So.
Everyone's gonna think we're
You just turned Sealy Lake into a sanctuary
it's
city.
sanctuary.
The refugees are coming to Sealy because of you, John. The refugees are coming. That's a good Pathfinder story. Sealy Lake became a sanctuary city. Thanks. No, it was fine. That was actually super interesting. Yeah. Just imagine there's lots of things around local government and state government because of time that one supersedes the other, but there's vestigial things and they're kind of tripping on each other. It just goes on. Were you ever able to open that FAQ thing?
Mm-mm.
Cause I sent it as a regular old fashioned attachment.
For some reason, like I don't have.
Not the embedded one that's like have access. I sent it like just like a
Oh,
normal.
I didn't look again.
I just sent it like a super
Okay.
traditional, anybody who could
Okay.
check that it's. This says I sent it to you
Okay.
and it's
Was that the one that I responded to?
I don't think so, because this one you don't
Is
need
new.
access.
Okay, I
It's just
should-
like
I
a,
should be
like a
able to click on
normal
it.
ass
Okay.
attachment. I could resend it, but it would be sending the same thing. It's the one that says, hope this works better.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure it will.
See that one, Dave? Which one's that? And my FAQs.
On the message.
Yeah. And the one that, because the first option I sent, access was denied, so I sent it again in the word say. Let's hope this works better.
Okay, I can go ahead and get started now. Cheryl, I'll just let you know if I need the slides changed. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So could you go to the first one again, the title? Yep. Okay, so this is the Porch Tower minor subdivision. It's located at 2322 Tower Drive. The applicant is Brian Porch, and he is represented by IMEG Corporation. I believe Tamara Ross and Joe Dennert are joining us remotely today from IMEG. And I'm Zach Jones, planner with Planning, Development, and Sustainability. So looking a little bit at where the subdivision is located, you can see it on the corner of Tower Street and 3rd Street. It's highlighted in the green and black, which you might not be able to see very well up there, but next slide will be closer. If you want to go in the next slide. Yep, so I think you should be able to see it a little better there. So you have Big Sky High School, a couple blocks to the east, in fact, about 1 block to the east. Fort Missoula is just to the south across South Avenue, and Missoula County Big Sky Park is about 2 blocks to the north and is in the Target Range neighborhood. Could you go to the next slide, please? So the proposal, so this subdivision request would create 2 residential lots from 1 existing lot. Like I said before, it's located at the intersection of Tower Street and South Avenue, and the existing parcel is about 0.97 acres. So ordinarily, to create 2 zoning compliant half-acre parcels, which is what the 0.5 minimum acres zoning designation requires, the parent parcel would need to be 1 full acre. So to rectify this situation, the applicant applied for and was approved for a minor waiver to allow for a greater than normal density of 2 dwelling units per acre. So because one of the lots will be a little smaller than an acre, the density would be higher. And a minor waiver allows for this to be approved. And there are, the applicant is not requesting any variances, and both of the lots will have their approach onto Tower Street. And the approved minor waiver that I mentioned before was also, I believe, approved in July or June or July of this year. And there is also no parkland dedication required for minor subdivisions, and planning, development, and sustainability staff will be recommending approval. Could you go to the next slide? Thank you. So getting into the review criteria and factors that we look at for subdivisions. First is the zoning and growth policy. Could you actually go ahead one slide first, and then we'll have to go back here. So this is the existing zoning in the area. So the yellow color there is RRS 0.5, which is rural, residential, and small agriculture with a ½ acre minimum. And this proposal would be compliant with that. And then surrounding, you actually have City of Missoula land at Fort Missoula, just to the south there. And also Big Sky High School is within the city. And then a little bit of resource and open land, and then Civic and Employment Center to the north and northeast there too. And then could you go one more slide again? So the land use designation from the growth policy is rural, residential, and small agriculture. And it is also within the target range neighborhood plan area, which designates a residential at 2 dwelling units per acre. So it is also compliant with that. And could you go back to the review criteria slide? So getting into the impacts to agriculture, there's no agricultural production currently occurring on the site, and we found no impacts to existing agriculture or agricultural water facilities. Access to both of the lots will be from Tower Street, and there will be no new roads associated with the subdivision. And right now, there is a driveway that accesses the southern lot, or the current lot, which will be the southern lot, from South Avenue. So this will be deconstructed, and grass landscaping will be planted by the applicant. And there is no pedestrian facility requirements due to being a minor subdivision with no on-site roads, except they are required to waive the right to protest an RSID, which could be used for infrastructure improvements in the future. So into water and sanitation, both of lots will include a newly drilled well, and the DNRC predetermination letter was included in the application. There's also no evidence of groundwater within 15 feet of the surface on the property. They are installing 2 new septic systems, which will meet county wastewater treatment and MDEQ standards. And both those permits have been approved by the Environmental Health Department already. And as I mentioned before, there's no parkland dedication required for minor subdivisions, and we found no adverse impacts to schools requiring mitigation. So for fire department impacts, the proposed water supply for fire suppression is a hydrant, which is located within 1,000 feet of the subdivision, meeting the fire code requirements. And there is a low fire hazard risk for the property as well. And getting into the natural environment, so these criteria are still relevant. However, it's important to note that this is a very impacted site in a residential neighborhood, and there's expected to be minimal impact to the natural environment. So there's no floodplain or steep slopes on the property, and the proposed covenants did include the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Living with Wildlife recommendations, which include things like trash disposal and wildlife safe stuff. And then could you skip a couple? One more and one more. So this is the proposed preliminary plat for the subdivision. You can see, I think Cheryl's going to make it bigger. Great, thank you. You can see the proposed layout for the two lots. One will be 0.51 acres, one will be 0.46 acres. And to the west, you have the Tower Street where both lots will be accessed from, and there's a road easement specified there. It's also important to note that there's a 1 foot no access strip on the southern property boundary, which is to eliminate the access from South Avenue. There will be improvements occurring to South Avenue in the future. That timeline is kind of currently unknown, but the city and county public works wanted to recommend getting rid of that driveway in anticipation of those improvements. So the no access strip helps to accomplish that. And could you go another slide down? So we received some agency comments. We did not receive any public comments from the Missoula County Voice or APO letters. So the when this was in sufficiency review, our floodplain administrator commented to provide clarification on depth to groundwater. Like I said before, that has been clarified and there is no groundwater within 15 feet that was found. The Missoula Rural Fire Department identified that there was an incorrect distance to a fire station, which was also clarified and corrected. And the Missoula County Survey Office recommended changing the name from the Porch subdivision, which was the original proposal, because there's already a porch addition. So that is why it is called Porch Tower, because it is right next to Tower Street. Could you go one slide? Thanks. And then, like I kind of mentioned before, we got comments from the City of Missoula Public Works and Mobility Engineering about the planned South Avenue improvements, and they recommended removal of that driveway and adding the 1 foot no access strip. And Missoula County Public Works supports that as well. And then the City Public Works and Mobility, the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, just said to ensure sufficient right-of-way for those improvements. Go one more. So our recommendation is approval of the subdivision subject to the conditions of approval, which can be found in the staff report. Most importantly to note is that 1 foot no access strip on South Avenue. And I have the recommended motion here.
Hey, Zach, this is minor, or why is that, why are the boundary lines the way they are with like the funny jog?
Cheryl, could you go back to the plat map just so we see what?
There we go.
Yep. I feel like that is due to something with the sanitation system, but I think if the applicant's representative is on, they might be able to clarify that better than me. They were on before, at least.
It's okay. It's not important. You guys have, I'm just curious. Oh, there's Tamara.
Am I allowed
Tamara,
to
sorry.
Yes.
take a stab? Okay.
Yeah, please.
Sure thing. So the lot lines are somewhat atypical. Zach had mentioned the minor waiver earlier in his proposal. So it's kind of two-part. It's kind of to better meet the minimum zoning requirements for the half acre. But also, as he kind of said, it does guide the sewer and well existing and near vicinity issues. So we kind of resulted in that jog in the upper northern portion of the southern lot. So we are as close as possible to the half acre, which was kind of has more weight than what the septic and wells did.
Tamara, are you still there?
Yes.
Sorry, okay, we lost teams. We're back.
Did you guys catch? Oh, okay. So the primary reason for the somewhat atypical lot line is the minor waiver, as Zach had mentioned earlier, so we can get closest to the half acre zoning requirement. But he also did mention water and septic did play into that, but primarily to get as close as possible to the 0.5 acre.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Zach. So did the Tamara or Mr. Porch have anything they'd like to say?
Perfect. Sorry about that. I suppose just to kind of get the name on record, I'm Tamara Ross. I'm here to represent Mr. Porch. I am a land use technician with IMAG. Of course, we have Joe Dennert here with me. He is also a land use planner. He's here to help guide discussions or any questions. I suppose I would like to thank Zach for his staff report and the county staff helping us get this far in our proposal. We're very happy to be here. I will provide just a brief overview. I think the main topics were covered, especially the lot line or the atypical lot line that you saw there. But as Zach said, both homes are existing on both lots. The northern lot is currently the home is currently under construction, but nearly complete. The certificate of occupancy is anticipated in January. So the main proposal or the main reason for this division is kind of to separate the taxes between the two lots. Mr. Porch will occupy the northern lot. Zach also did mention that wastewater systems and the wells are existing and permitted. Final MDEQ review will occur, of course, if this proposal were to be approved. And then I suppose moving on to the other point or condition that Zach had mentioned with the no access strip. So there is existing access on the northern lot and the southern lot. The southern lot does have access off of South Ave West and Tower Street, but as he mentioned, access from Tower Street will be abandoned, or excuse me, I need to make sure I said that right. South Ave will be abandoned and that no access strip will be applied as a condition of approval in the covenants if the proposal were to be approved. And kind of just leaning into that a little bit further, this was recommended by the Public Works and Mobility Department, like Zach had mentioned. I believe it's part of the Safe Streets and Roads grant that may have been recently approved maybe a month ago or gone before the board maybe a month ago. So the applicant is more than happy to support that and will re-landscape, which Zach did also mention. I believe that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. I don't hear Joe chiming in if I said anything incorrect or okay, thanks, Joe. So I suppose with that, thank you for lending me your ear. And I hope that we're here to help guide the discussion if needed and answer any further questions.
Thanks a lot, Tamara. Anybody have any questions or anyone else like to speak on this?
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Could you queue up the motion again? I move to approve the Porch Tower minor subdivision based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law in the staff report and subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Second.
Any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Tamara. You guys both did great. Good
Thank you
job
so
to
much.
too, Joe.
Thanks, commissioners.
We'll
Bye.
see you next
Yeah,
time.
See you next time. Up on to Ranch Club.
Okay, so this is the Ranch Club subdivision phasing plan extension request. And the location is the Ranch Club subdivision, which is north of Mullen Road. And you'll see some maps of it in a second here. The applicant is Ranch Club Investments, LLC. They're represented by Chris Weza. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, from Genesis Engineering. And I'm, again, Zach Jones from Planning, Development, and Sustainability. So showing here is the phasing plan extension map with the already approved phases on here. So currently 6, 7, 8, 9A, 9B already approved and existing and mostly built out. And then 10 and 11 are what we are looking at today for extension. Phase 10 is where a second access road from Mullen Road would be. And then 11 is kind of independent and not connected to Mullen Road. And Mullen Road would be to the south here where you can see my cursor. So this is kind of a zoomed out view where the subdivision is located. The airport is to the north and east. Mullen Road is going along here. You can't see it on this map, but Reserve Street would be off the screen over there. And this red color is actually signifies that it is within the city boundaries. So this is a kind of interesting circumstance where the county is the ones approving this request despite it being in the city because the subdivision was originally approved by the county before it was annexed into the city. And the red part also shows the boundary of where the subdivision is pretty nicely too. This is just a more zoomed in view. And as you can see, as I mentioned before, there isn't access road to Mullen Road over here on the east, but phase 10 would be over here and would access Mullen Road. It seems to be getting a little laggier as I go on. So yeah, as you can see where my cursor is, that's where that access road would be. So getting into some background for the subdivision, Ranch Club, which was formerly known as Phantom Hills Estates, was first approved in May 2003 by Missoula County. And there has been 4 phasing plan amendments and extensions, which have been approved in 2007, 2009, 2014, and 2017 most recently. And currently phases 10 and 11 expire at the end of this year on December 31st. And the Missoula County subdivision regulations allow for extensions of at least 1 year and no more than 3 years. So the applicant originally was requesting a 3-year extension for phases 10 and 11, which would have moved the deadline for both to the end of 2026, the deadline to file the final plat. However, when we put out the request for agency comment, we received comment from the Missoula City Public Works and City Fire Departments about some fire code requirements, which is the need for that second access road, which I've mentioned before. So currently the whole subdivision is only accessed by one road, Ranch Club Road, which is more at the western end of the subdivision off of Mullen Road. And it's pretty far to get from like the phase 9, the further east parts, all the way back to Mullen Road. And earlier this year, there was a residential structure fire, which created an obstruction due to the firefighting emergency activities, and residents that lived beyond where that fire was couldn't access their homes or leave as well. So, and if there was any further emergency, that also would have created an issue and would have caused an obstruction to the firefighting activities. So not a great situation. So in order to fix this issue, originally staff was considering recommending a condition where there would be an emergency access road constructed by the end of 2024. And then the phases 10 and 11 would still be 3-year extensions. However, the applicant expressed their concerns about constructing this emergency access road, and we ended up deciding just to recommend a 1-year extension for phase 10 and then sticking with a 3-year extension for phase 11. To my understanding, it would have been kind of cost prohibitive and would be like constructing 2 roads. So they would rather just construct the full road one time. So with that background, we are recommending approval of the extension, which would be extending the phase 10 final plat submittal deadline to the end of next year, December 31st, 2024. And then the phase 11 final plat submittal deadline to December 31st, 2026. And that would be subject to the updated master conditions of approval as well. So that is what I have for the presentation. The applicant's representative, Chris, is here as well, and I can answer questions.
Hi, good afternoon. Chris Wasia, Genesis Engineering. Kirby Christian is also, I think, online too. First, I wanted to thank Tim and Zach for doing a great job of meeting with us multiple times and trying to find a solution to this. They also did, I think, a more than adequate job of a staff report. And so I'll be real brief and just say, basically, we're here to answer any questions that you may have. The extension allows us or helps us be able to solve this problem. Without the extension, I'm not sure how we get that secondary access in a timely fashion. Our original plan was cut a little short, and we definitely will be under a time constraint to try to get the infrastructure in a year, because there is fairly deep sewer, water, and stormwater mains that need to be installed in that street. And the soils out there are fairly problematic, need to be moisture conditioned, and they've been a challenge over the years, let's put it that way.
Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. It's a sediment that's an expansive clay with layers of sand, because it's lake bed Missoula that's settled. And so you have water that can run in between certain layers and then not between others, and then we disturb that and you create blockages. It seals itself quite well to where just there's no infiltration. And so we have to moisture condition that soil, and we end up bringing in tractors and discs and a certain water size mister. It sounds funny, but it actually has worked where we apply it. It works really quite well. We have to get that moisture content up to almost 22% in that soil. And the only way to do that is with a certain mist size and the disking of the soils with tractors. Then once it's moisture conditioned to that level, we can haul it in. We almost make that actually a farm off to the side, haul it back over to where we need it and recompact it with compactive efforts. So it takes about 3 times more effort than your typical to get it right. And that's part of the challenge. And so trying to get that done in a year, we'd love to have 2 years, but we also think that we can try to crash our schedule and maybe get utilities in and have a partial road that is all weather surface to meet the conditions that Steve Reichert with the city had. Our goal is to obviously not have what happened earlier this year happen again. And with that, I guess I'd open it up for any questions that you might have of Kirby or myself.
I just appreciate that explanation because I don't think I had known that difficulty or that complexity.
I haven't heard that either. You guys are good with the year. We'll cross our fingers and we'll revisit this in a year if need be.
Okay. I move to, or is there proper, correct, like,
Do
oh,
we have
yeah,
any
sorry.
public comment? Okay.
I move to approve the phasing plan extension, extending the Phase 10 final plat submittal deadline to December 31st, 2024, and the Phase 11 final plat submittal deadline to December 31st, 2026, subject to the master conditions of approval.
Second.
Did we ballpark just how much that emergency road would cost? I know it was like, just so conceptually, like, we know.
I do not have any figures or anything for that.
Again, Chris Wasia, Genesis Engineering. We've looked at it, and it is actually a timing issue too, because of this, the exercise I explained to you to get this material back in. Trying to have an open road while we're doing that is somewhat problematic as well. And so doing it in one shot is the best solution for us. And I think in general, being efficient. Cost-wise, we were estimating most of the material. We try to save some of the rock, but you know, that's all you can save, and it costs almost as much to handle it 2 or 3 times as it is in the value of the rock. So that really isn't a savings. We were seeing it upwards of $300,000 to $400,000 depending on the going rates at that point in time. And so it's expensive. There's no doubt.
Thank you. That helps.
And I guess I didn't give Kirby the opportunity. I figured he would have raised his hand if he wanted to jump in, but if Kirby had anything to say, I wanted to give him the opportunity.
I'm fine. I was just listening and you guys have presented it well, so I appreciate it.
Okay, so
Thank you to the commission. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person.
No problem. We have a motion. We have a second. I'll do one more call for any public comment. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. I believe we're done.